plants, there's a whole lot of stuff that we lose. So whenever we're up in front of a set of iconography like this that we refer to as a frieze, the word frieze comes from the Greek stuff off the Acropolis. It's a very old term that we use. We see a whole bunch of different symbols here that hints to us something of the way the Mayan rulers believe, their belief system. So we got two registers, two lines of iconographic symbols, a lower register and an upper register. I'm going to start with the register at the bottom and the guy who's in the middle. I'm standing right in front of him right now. The guy with his thumb hanging out, he's got an ear, the one in the middle. The one with a cross and X, the letter X over his forehead, the lower register in the middle. Okay? So that should represent the sun god. As he rises after his journey through the underworld at night, and he rises over there in the east. He's coming up from the underworld. On top of him, the head, above the head on the second register, the second line that makes up the register above the sun god, is a guy sitting cross-legged, supposedly in the mouth of a serpent, and the serpent's looking straight out in front of you. Okay? You got that? Okay, come down back to the sun god in the lower register, and on the right and the left of the registers are two U-shaped iconographic symbols. On the right and the left of the lower sun god, two U-shaped symbols. Those symbols represent the glyph for the moon, and they've been around from the Olmec day, from about, say, 1,000 years before Christ, 1000 BC. The Olmec culture identified the moon using that glyph. And here we have the Maya, nearly 1,500 years later, using the same glyph to identify the moon. The moon is also associated with the frog, Bufo marinus. Now, Bufo marinus secretes a chemical on his back that's 10,000 times more powerful than cocaine. So sometimes these rulers would stand again in front of their doorways of their temple, burn paper or rubber as an offering. The women would pierce their earlobes and their tongues, and the guys would take an obsidian blade or a stingray spine and pierce the foreskin of their penises, collect the blood and paper, and burn it in honor of their ancestors. They would probably see the mouth of a huge dragon opening up, and all their ancestors going back into the cosmological past or time would be appearing in front of them in their trance state. So here I'm talking about a ritual that Maya kings and rulers, men and women, had to practice. Now, when you think about piercing the foreskin of your penis, and we're all products of Western civilization, that makes a whole lot of us guys very queasy. But remember Bufo marinus, the hieroglyph for the frog? This same cocaine chemical that he secretes on the back, this drug, that's 10,000 times more powerful than cocaine. I could see them adding this chemical to the local corn beer, the local Jack Daniels. And they would be like Lucy in the sky with diamonds as they bleed themselves on top of the altar up in front of here. So it's hard to, being product of Western civilization, understand some of the actions that these guys carried out up here. But again, they're a completely different world than the one we come from. All right? Today we come here visiting their architecture, trying to grasp the feel of what their world was all about. But we're barely scratching the surface. All right? Now, on top of the U-shaped figures on the right and the left of the lower register, you see some little squiggly lines in the register on the top, on the, where you see like a little two eyes sideways looking out at you like a little spider. That hieroglyph represents the planet Venus. So we see the glyph for Venus, we see the glyph for the sun god, and the glyph for the moon. Astronomical symbols with royal portraitures in the middle. On the far end of the lower register, we got a whole bunch of glyphs representing the tail of a rattlesnake. If you look down on the lower register, the last iconographic symbol over here represents the bones of a rattlesnake. The rattlesnake comes from, it represents the constellation of the Pleiades. Okay, the Pleiades in Mesoamerican civilizations were very important. November 21st, when the Pleiades was straight up ahead at midnight, in Mexico, the Aztecs would have ripped open someone's chest take out his beating heart and start the new fire from the chest cavity. And that fire would go out to the rest of the Aztec world to start the new fire for the next 52-year cycle in time. Okay? So for the Maya, the rattle of the rattlesnake was referred to as Tzab, Tsab. And when we identify the Pleiades, that's where the rattlesnake tail would be. Now, most of the stuff I'm sharing with you guys come from a lady called Dr. Linda Sheely. She was an epigraphist, a linguist. She studied the Mayan language and she also studied the Mayan hieroglyphic texts. So according to Linda Sheely, what we're seeing here is the first day of the fourth creation, August 13, 3114 BC, when the gods will lift up the sky from off the surface of the earth and establish 3 throne stones. One for the serpent, one for the magician of water, the Brujo de Agua, and one for the jaguar. And these 3 symbolic iconographic symbols we see up here on this frieze. The guys in the far end would be, in Mayan mythology, they believe, like, remember the Greek Atlas who held up the sky? There's an equivalent of him in Mayan mythology also. The guys who will hold up the 4 corners of the heavens. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I'm actually missing out on, because the Spanish will burn the books up, so they leave us out in the dark. And what I'm trying to get at here, there are some more. I just barely scratched the surface all over this frieze, but you know, I know I'm not telling you the whole story. So we got to remember that what we got here in front of us, we're in a big dark room with an elephant. And there's 5 little guys in this dark room, one holding on to its tail, one holding on to one of the feet, one holding on to the paunch, one holding on to the trunk and the ear. And the 5 of them in the dark room are telling each other what they are experiencing. But they're also missing the boat, because we know, I just told you it was an elephant, but in the dark they can't discern it's an elephant. And that's what science is all about. Whether you're in the field of physics or biology, you know, we put together pieces of information to get a broader understanding of what's happening. Okay, and I don't have all the answers here. You know, when I read the text of the people who have interpreted this, I disagree completely with them. Completely. You know, I've been doing this, studying this for the last probably 20 years of my life. So I know we don't have all the answers here. And all I could say, we should leave it like that. All right? Now for the guys who will go up to the top,